Welcome back to Offroad Racing PlayStation. Welcome back to this amazing World Prototype Sprint Championship with that awesome car, the Audi LMP900 Daytona Road Course. Here is the car. Not many liveries available, but what a race we had in race 1. Simon Allen was the winner and we had quite a fair bit of action, so let's see how things are going to unfold in this second race here at Daytona. As we see the qualifying results, Dale Taylor and Simon Allen on the front row, followed by Darren Head, George Lewis, Diogo Silva, Kev Allen, Gonçalo Mota, Andrew Dalby, Scott Davely in 9th. That is Delphi Moura in 10th place, followed by Peter Adrian, John Scott, Sid Waters and David Demke. We have almost a complete grid, and again, as usual here at Daytona, we are going to get a rolling start, which is the default in Project Cars 2, and the way they go, and everyone has had a clean start so far. So let's see how they're going to turn 1, and there's a spin, Scavalan spins, and Diogo Silva is off the track as well, and Scott Davely had contact there with Diogo as Diogo was trying to avoid Kev's car. Simon Allen in second place. Del Taylor has maintained the lead so far. We have the first lap ongoing of 13th, so plenty of racing to go, and already a couple of drivers getting delayed. That's Kev Allen that is sitting in 13th, and Diogo Silva sitting in 8th. And this is the replay of what happened here of the start. Darren Head on the inside, that's Kev Allen there spinning behind Darren, and we see here they're running side by side. Oh, Darren almost loses it there, almost loses it. Oh, he does lose it. He spins on his own. And is there going to be contact? Yes, with someone we couldn't identify. Oh, and then more contact there. Coming back to the track, I believe it was Scott Davely there, and Scott already had a couple of contact situations. Oh, and Darren gets hit by someone, that's Peter Adrian. Peter Adrian, as they were running side by side and then just connected. This is Scott Davely, and this is, oh, and more carnage was there at the back. We couldn't quite see it. Scott avoids that one, but now Darren, and Scott ends up doing a half spin. So plenty of action for Scott Davely on the first lap already, but mostly created by others. He had to avoid Diogo Silva. There was contact, then Darren Head, and more contact. He's now sitting in 12th place, and something happened to, oh, John Scott there spinning as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. We were hoping for a, well, slightly less carnagey race, but not really so far, as there is Delphi Moura and Andrew Dalby also connecting and collecting Peter Adrian in the process. Peter also outbraked himself in turn 1. He's still sitting in 8th place, and he's going to avoid here pretty much everyone, and then just connecting with Darren Head. Just the slightest of touches, he avoids the spin. He does lose a couple of positions, but he also had gained a couple of positions with the carnage, so he's incredibly sitting 7th. Oh no, he hits John Scott. John Scott was hit by Peter Adrian, and really drivers need to calibrate their braking points, so plenty of action. This is on board with Diogo Silva, as he also span in turn 1 and comes back to the track. Now has to avoid Kev Allen, and Scott Davely nowhere to go there, as Diogo was a little bit too anxious to go back to the track and was deciding when to use the pit lane exit or the track. Ends up using the track. This is all sorts of carnage there between Delphi Moura and Andrew Dalby. But now all sorts of carnage between Peter Adrian, Darren Head, John Scott, and look at that, it goes through the middle. That's not a bad move there. Up into 5th place he goes after spinning in turn 1. Now Simon Allen and Dale Taylor, no problems for them so far, and we are still on the first lap. Plenty of replays, plenty of action, and unfortunately a little bit too much action again as the old folks continue to acclimatize themselves to this car, but perhaps a bit more practice is required. Braking points in Daytona always a problem, especially in turn 1 and in some of the other heavy braking areas, and well, some drivers, they are incredibly high up in the leaderboard considering the amount of action they had. That would include Diogo Silva in 5th. Peter Adrian is up into 6th place, but being very chased by Darren Head, who is, well, not fully respectful of track limits there. And Dalby in 8th place. He was rotating due to into contact with the Delphi Mora earlier on in the lap, still in the top 8, and is being chased by, well, by no one, as Sid Waters. There's massive battle here between Sid Waters, Scott David Emge, and the recovering Delphi Mora, and there's contact there with Sid Waters spinning into the infield. Kev Allen is still sitting last, and I suspect that may be because, and Delphi Mora there running wide into one another. Problem, and this is, well, they should be able to run side by side through the oval, but there was just a bit of a misunderstanding there, and Sid Waters goes back to 13th place. Kev Allen is still in last, and I suspect there may have been another incident besides the spin on the opening corner, as Sid Waters and Delphi Mora also connected there, and again very difficult to stop this car on time. Lap 2 out of 13. Delphi Mora, we normally see him at the sharp end of the leaderboard, and Darren Head is now spinning. Oh no, he's not. Oh, massive save there by Darren, as all the old folks are definitely struggling to control this car. Delphi Mora is also trying to go around a combination of John Scott and David Emge, as they all go back to the oval, and they should be able to run side by side here, as Delphi is trying to draft from David there. Battle for 11th spot. John Scott currently occupies the last place in the top 10. Now this is not the greatest overtaking point here, as David Emge is actually going for it, and so does Delphi Mora. They both basically go through there. So John Scott drops from 10th to 12th in the matter of the bus stop chicane, as Delphi Mora now runs side by side with David Emge. Battle for 10th place here. The problem is that John Scott is back, drafting them, both of them as well, as they complete another lap, and the leader is already on lap 13. Delphi Mora on the outside, David Emge on the inside, and John Scott trying to draft. And look at this, who's that? That's Sid Waters also coming back at this group as they go through turn 1, and then there's contact there, multiple contacts there between Delphi Mora. David Emge was trying to go on the inside in turn 1, but really, well, there wasn't a huge amount of space there to make that maneuver, and they end up connecting that, as Delphi Mora still in 12th place. Kev Allen is now coming back into the picture, and John Scott, who also spent on his own in turn 1, is now in 14th. We have frantic action here at the back of the field, and in Old Fox Racing PlayStation we always have battles through the field, but probably, what is this? This is George Jesus. We haven't seen George Jesus well, ever in this race. He's sitting in 4th place. And he's spinning. He's spinning the entrance to the tri-oval, and he does. And now he rotates again. This is so tricky. Reset button right into the pathway of someone else, and now having a few struggles to restart the Audi machine. He drops back to 8. Andrew Dalby up into 7. Look at Scott Davley in 9th place, coming back at George now. And George Jesus, after finishing 2nd in the first race, has a bit of work to do if he is to get a good result out of this. Up into a podium position goes Gonçalo Mota. Up into 4th goes Diogo Silva. 5th is Peter Adrian. 6th is Darren Head. 7th is Andrew Dalby. 8th George Jesus after that spin. 9th is Scott Davley. 10th is David Emge. Sid Waters now up into 11th. This is because of John Scott's spin, and also Delphi Mora's spin as well, induced by David Emge in turn 1. And now there is round 2 of this battle, and it's exactly the same place. Almost losing it there is Sid Waters. He lost it in the oval, but comes back, but loses the position. Delphi Mora is, this is a big crash, and what on earth happened here? Will we get a replay of, well, I mean, they should be able to run side by side on the oval, as really Sid Waters was out of control there. But then, let's see, they're running side by side, and then, well, they just connected. I'm not sure who ran into whom. I think they were both running into each other, but Delphi Mora not having the race that he wanted here. He's now in 13th spot. He's not pressing the reset button. His Audi LMP900 is a somewhat simplified version of the machine. We can see here in the number 1 of Darren Head, who's sitting in 6th place. Definitely not having the race that he wanted. Multiple incidents already in the first 4 laps. But let's see how the Portuguese driver is going to recover, as there was someone outbreaking themselves there at the back. I think it was Andrew Dalby under pressure from Jorge Jesus. Jorge is in 8th place. He seems to have checked out from Scott Davey. Yes, he has 4 seconds. Is now the gap. As this is it. He's on board with Jorge Jesus as he is trying to chase that 7th spot of Andrew Dalby. Let's see if we can have a slightly less chaotic race in the remainder of the 9 laps that we have here at Daytona, as Jorge Jesus clearly ran slightly off-track limits there at the bus stop chicane, but many drivers are doing that, as Darren Head is now going side by side with Peter Adrian. He's trying a bit of side drafting as well, but the problem is that in turn 1 he's going to be on the outside, and the braking point is quite severe and quite tricky. Let's see what Darren is up to, and well, they both give each other room, and that is how you basically fight for position in turn 1, braking on time, leaving room for the other driver. And it's good to see. Oh, now opportunistic move there for Darren in turn 2. That was a nice one, because Peter Adrian was caught sleeping there, but now he's had a good exit. Oh, no, he hasn't, because he's slightly off track, and Darren has more momentum and gets the position. Up into 5th place goes Darren Head. Still plenty of racing to go. Dale Taylor continues to lead since the beginning. He's opened a gap of 4 seconds to Simon Allen, and Dale Taylor has had quite a horrendous first race, so good to see him recovering to the lead. And oh, Jorge Jesus again is doing donuts for the crowd. Yes, this is a classic, and what happened here, he just lost it. I think this car, you just need to brake. You cannot brake too late, and if you brake too late, don't accelerate too early. And that, I think, a combination of what Jorge did here, as he's a bit out of shape, and now just too much acceleration, and off he goes into making donuts for the crowd. Reset button that unfortunately here goes almost into the racing line. He does lose a position to Scott Davey. Scott Davey up into 8th place on lap 5. And Jorge Jesus is having a horrendous race so far, after finishing 2nd and challenging for the lead in race 1. Sid Waters is in 11th spot behind David Emge. David in the top 10. 12th is Kev Allen. 13th is John Scott, and here is a slightly more recovered car for Delphi Moura. We'll keep an eye on his pace. He should have good pace, although he does not have drivers immediately close to them that might affect some of the drafting in the oval. So we'll keep an eye on the lap times, because he should be able to recover a few positions, we believe, in the second half of this race. In any case, only the 8 best results count towards the final score of this championship. And so drivers can afford to have a bad day in the Old Fox Racing PlayStation. 8 out of 10 is what counts for the final standings. We have a slightly more sorted situation in the field, where there is a bit of stability, at least in the top 6. Andrew Dalby is in 7th. There he is in the number 38, and trying to chase Peter Adrian, and actually getting quite close to Peter. So we have a close battle for 6th spot, and now he's trying to go on the inside there through the oval, but not yet there, as Scott Davey. Something has happened to Scott. He's dropped down to 9th again, and Jorge Jesus was relatively far behind after his spin. So I'm not sure if this was an overtake by Jorge or a mistake by Scott, but Scott Davey in the 9th place, and then we have the group that has been animating the back of the field since lap 1, currently led by David Emge in 10th, and then Sid Waters, Cavallo, John Scott, and Delphi Moura. Delphi is also not very far from John Scott. We'll keep an eye on that gap, as Andrew Dalby continues to chase the 6th place car of Peter Adrian, as they get very close in the oval. Now he's too far behind, way too far behind, to think about a move in turn 1. So it should be a straightforward braking point for both drivers, as in fact it was. But nice to see this battle between Andrew and Peter. And Peter here. Oh, no. This was, well, this was a little bit of a dive there. And Andrew Dalby, I mean, Peter did leave a bit of room, but unlike the Darren situation on the previous lap, I think Andrew was really coming from too far behind, and there was a bit of a love tap that induced Peter Adrian into a spin, which is, I think this one is probably going to be on Andrew's side of the responsibility for this incident. In any case, he is up into 6th place. Peter Adrian drops to 7th. As now we see another battle, well, multiple battles going on. Scott Davey, he has been overtaken by Jorge Jesus, but he's not that far behind. Also, we saw Sid Waters not that far behind. David Emge battle for 10th place. This one is the battle for 8th place, as we are now firmly in the second half of this race. Lap 7 out of 13 is completed for the leader, who is Dale Taylor, and Dale has a 3.5 second advantage over Simon Allen. Simon Allen with a great opening to the season. He won race 1, now sitting in 2nd place, and is comfortably sitting in 2nd place because Gonçalo Mota, the other podium contender at this point, is around 6 seconds behind. Darren Head is getting closer to Diogo Silva. These two have battled in turn 1. Look at Darren's braking point here. He's quite late on the brakes, still manages to control the car. And now we see a Diogo Darren battle potentially in the second half of this race, as well. Darren certainly seems to be braking later than Diogo on most corners, so with a bit of drafting in the oval, this could be very interesting indeed. And well, who's that driver in front of him? That's Gonçalo Mota. Gonçalo Mota has been losing a little bit of time. He was only 8 or 9 seconds behind the leader. Now he's 10.5, and he's got two very fast drivers coming after him. So this could get interesting for the final podium position in this race, as Gonçalo Mota currently is in turn. There he is exiting the bus stop as Diogo and Darren are entering the bus stop. And let's see how this battle evolves, because it's going to be quite interesting if can Darren go into the drafting zone, as Sid Waters also gets into the drafting zone of David Emge. Battle for 10th place. By the way, 12th place man is Delphi Moura. Delphi Moura has recovered a couple of positions, and Kev Allen seems to be well, he seems to be in last place as it stands, actually very close to John Scott. In fact, he's up into 13th now. We can see the change in the leaderboard. But something happened to Kev Allen and John Scott. They both lost the position to Delphi Moura, and now are sitting 3 seconds behind and battling with each other not to finish last. Here comes now Sid Waters on David Emge. They should be able to run side by side through the oval. David goes to the inside, forcing Sid to go on the outside into turn 1. And now it's going to be, and almost contact there, and almost contact a second time. Well, they did behave nicely with one another. And David now off the track, trying to hold on to that position. This is good stuff. And it ends up going off track, as to be fair, Sid was already ahead on the track and had the inside line as well. Now, a few moments ago, Peter Adrian is he's and ends up spinning at the bus stop. He almost saved it, but he is potentially going to lose a position to Jorge Jesus, and potentially Scott Lively as well, who's not that far behind. Now Peter is still ahead, but he's gaining momentum after a stationary start after that spin, and now they're running side by side, so this should be an easy pass for George drafting out of Peter. But Peter now has recovered the speed, so they're running side by side through the oval. This is very common in the actual Daytona 24 hours. If you and a bit of a cutting across the track there for George Jesus, but he seems to and Peter now trying to come back on the outside, so George does go ahead into 7th place, and he's opened a bit of a gap as well to Scott Davey. We saw them together a couple of laps ago, and now Scott didn't really quite benefit from Peter's spin. Scott still in 9th, and Peter Adrian down into 8th place. Andrew Dalby, by the way, is up into 6th, as we saw that with that incident with Peter a couple of laps ago. Now this is the battle for 3rd, well, battle for 4th really, but with 3rd place man Gonçalo Mota inside for both these drivers, and they are potentially gaining an advantage by drafting from each other. They're probably getting a bit of speed as Darren Head tries to go on the bus stop on the inside. That's probably not a great idea, as it's impossible to run side by side. Better to wait here at the exit, and he has done so, and he's going for it now. Surely this is going to be, well, the usual stuff where Diogo goes on the inside and Darren is forced to go on the outside. They should be able to run side by side through here, and they are. And now is the key point as they go through the start-finish line. Actually, Darren is ahead already. Darren is ahead. He would be ahead on this lap as they cross the line. Well, basically side by side. And here comes Darren Head now on the inside, on the outside, sorry, of turn 1, and does the job there. Job done there by Darren. That was a brave move, and difficult to stop the car coming with such momentum, but Darren was very, very good there in terms of the overtaking maneuver, and he's up into 4th place. Diogo Silva drops to 5th, and this is the perpetual battle. Now it's the other way around, as Sid Waters has overtaken David Emge, as we saw, and David is trying to come back at him in turn 1 again, but and a bit of dancing there, a bit of lagging there of both cars, but no contact, no incident. These two continue to battle quite cleanly for 10th place. A few moments ago, this is Kev Allen, and Kev is having a horrendous race here as he locks up, and he's probably going to go wide and go into the infield. Yes, he is rotating. He has rotated into the grass, and he has lost 13th place, so John Scott is now up into 13th. And clearly a few drivers here that probably will want a bit more practice ahead of round 2. That include Cavall and John Scott, potentially Delphi Moura. Delphi has been delayed by incidents, but he did not qualify very well, and when you start in 12th place, well, there's going to be one incident or another, and clearly we've seen in the GTE Championship before Delphine, when he does qualify at the sharp end of the grid, he can run very competitively and won a race, for example. So no reason why he should not be able to challenge for wins in this championship, which is turning out to be quite a fascinating championship. Dale Taylor is running away with his victory, 3 laps to go now. Simon Allen already won a race. The previous champions of 2022 of the various championships, that's Darren Head and Diogo Silva, have not won a race yet. They have not even stood on the podium in race 1, but they should be contenders. We've got Delphi Moura, we've got Jorge Jesus, who did such a great job in the GTE Championship, so we have potentially 6, 7 or 8 winners in this league, so it's going to be quite tight at the end. So every position matters, and David Emge knows that as well, as he's trying to challenge for that top 10. And actually Peter Adrian in 9th place. Well, Peter wasn't in 9th place, so he's had another incident of some kind, because up into 8 goes Scott Davely. Scott was not in 8th place, and Peter not having the second half of the race that he wanted after a very strong start to the race. This is Delphi Moura, who is 5 seconds behind David Emge. He should be able to recover. Let's look at the lap times. David Emge 1:36.527. Not sure if that has updated yet. It has updated. Well, he's a second and a bit slower than Delphi in 12th place, but there's only a couple of laps to go, so I'm not sure there's going to be any room for Delphi Moura to challenge for 11th and 12th. Sorry, 10th and 11th. Let's keep an eye on that, because very easily these two drivers could tangle as well, or at least waste a bit of time, as they seem to be, well, Sid Waters certainly seems to be looking in his mirrors to see where David is, but there's quite a lot of drivers end up together at this stage of the race. We've got ahead of, oh, and something has happened to Jorge Jesus. Again, Jorge Jesus drops to 8, so another mistake for Jorge, and all of a sudden we have a little group here between 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. They're all kind of together, as Jorge Jesus has dropped to 8, Scott Davely up into 7, Peter Adrian has dropped back as well, as we saw, and here are the two drivers, Sid Waters and David Emge, who are coming potentially to challenge for that position. Let's see how this last couple of laps is going to go. No problems for Del Terra so far. The gap has been decreasing, by the way, but not yet enough to really cause any trouble to the race leader. Now lap 12 is already underway, so a couple of laps to go, and we should have this race done. Let's see how this goes. Oh, and look at this. That's Peter Adrian on George. George is really struggling at this point of the race. George really struggling at this point of the race, and Peter is trying to get back into that position, into that 8th place position right now. Let's see, because there's only one more lap to go after this one, and now he seems to have lost a little. Chase Peter Adrian as they approach the tri-oval for the penultimate. Oh, George spins there. George spins. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Peter Adrian up into 8th spot. This is the replay, and so many spins we have seen in this race at this particular location, and thankfully contact is avoided, and he does lose potentially another. Almost got into the inside of the railing there. George Jesus is having a horrendous final part of this race. Now, a few moments ago, this is for 3rd place, as Darren Head has caught up with Gonçalo Mota and battle for 3rd place here. And are we about to see another spin in the same place? No. Oh, running side by side there, and Darren goes for 3rd place there. There goes the place. Contact between the two drivers. This is the last lap is about to begin, and we've got a magnanimous battle there for 3rd place, and now Gonçalo Mota is going to draft, and he's going to come back at there, and he's on the outside now for the bus stop. Is not the easiest overtaking location, but this is two drivers going for it now. It is the last lap, and Gonçalo Mota is going to go for it now. He runs wide, and they're still running side by side off the track. This is great racing, though. Great racing. They did run off the track, but at least they left room for one another, and they are exactly as they were a few corners ago. Darren Head by the slightest of margins going into 3rd spot, and Gonçalo Mota drops into 4th. This is the entry for the last lap, and now this is the turn 1, and Gonçalo Mota is on the outside. It's going to be quite tricky also because Darren Head is already a few car lengths ahead, and Gonçalo Mota drops down to 4th spot. This is the last lap of the race. Dale Taylor is going to win. Simon Allen will finish in the 2nd spot. 3rd is now Darren Head. 4th is now Gonçalo Mota, and Gonçalo is trying to come back at him. A bit of a contact there. Oh, no spin. Oh, Gonçalo Mota drops down. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. He should press the reset button, or can he not press the reset? Yes, now he can press the reset button. Oh, he's lost a few positions there as is down into 6th place. Andrew Dalby up into the top 5. Diego Silva up into 4th. Darren Head was already 3rd. This is the last lap of the race, and Dale Taylor has run a perfect race, just like Simon Allen did in race 1. Dale Taylor is going to win convincingly in race 2. He is at the bus stop, so a few more corners to go, and he will take the checkered flag and become the 2nd different winner in this World's Prototype Sprint Championship of 2023, the first season of 8 in Old Fox Racing PlayStation during this calendar year. Dale Taylor takes the checkered flag. Simon Allen is going to finish in 2nd place, and Darren Head will complete the podium. He's 15 seconds behind the leader, but he is coming to take the checkered flag in 3rd place. 4th place, Diogo Silva. 5th place is going to be Andrew Dalby as Darren crosses the line. 6th place is going to be Gonçalo Mota. 7th is going to be Scott Davely. Nicely done there at the end. Scott was running towards the back for the first half of the race, but then had a much stronger second half, and he is going to finish in 7th spot. That's good. Peter Adrian in 8th spot. 9th is Sid Waters. Something happened to David Emge. We have not quite seen what it was, but 9th was Sid Waters. 10th was Delphi Moura. 11th is Jorge Jesus. 12th is going to be David Emge. He lost a bit of time there in the last couple of laps. 13th is going to be Cavallan, and 14th, completing the finishers, is going to be John Scott. 14 drivers started, 14 drivers have finished. and Dale Taylor is your winner of race 2. There's the confirmation of the result. Dale Taylor, Simon Allen again on the podium, and Darren Head in third place. Simon Allen takes the early lead of the championship, but round 2, 3, 4 and 5 are yet to come and should provide very exciting racing. See you then.